Before we get things started on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List, I just want to remind you that if you missed part 1 of this episode, we had a very special and fun interview with actor Isiah Whitlock Jr., where he talked about some on-set funny stories, some of the best actors and directors that he's worked with, and so much more. So go and check that out first before you come to this one, and then come back here to see the usual stuff, the weekly preview that we do, and some of our number 1 recommends. All that and more on this week's Popcorn Bucket List. And then in that case, it's time for the weekly preview, talking about everything coming out this weekend. Friday, February 24th, as we've mentioned before, Cocaine Bear officially premiering here. Based on a true story, kind of, sort of, from what I've read. So, correct me if I'm wrong here, there was an actual drug runner who would, launch these bags out of the plane in the mountains. And one time in 1985, because of course it was 1985, if you're talking about a story with cocaine, it had to be the 80s, I guess. A bear got into it, and basically this is the story of what would have happened if there were people around when this happened. Is that kind of safe to call it that a little bit?
No, what happened with the original story was they dumped it. There was the flyover, the forest. They would dump the cocaine, and then you go in and you find it, and you're on your merry way. Well, a bear found the cocaine before the drug dealers got there. I think it was about 70 pounds. He ate all of it, had a massive heart attack, and died. And when they cut the bear open to find out, what caused the bear's death, they found 70 pounds of coke in his system.
Which... kind of surprised that didn't happen sooner. I got to assume this couldn't have been the first run for this guy or whatever. How he didn't think any animal wouldn't have gotten to it before this. I just feel like wasn't thought all the way through on that one.
Yeah. But the bear had eaten it, and who knows? I mean, maybe a couple of squirrels or something like that were flying through the trees or something. But the bear ate it and had a massive heart attack and died. So basically what they did was they took that premise. I mean, if you do that movie, you don't have one. Mm-hmm. But if the bear eats just a little bit of it and, saves some for, the next day, the bear becomes addicted and starts, creating all kinds of havoc in the forest.
So I find this, one of the things I find most interesting about this movie is we've talked a lot about on this channel horror comedies, horror movies that are kind of funny, and I feel like there's been a lot of paranormal or demonic ones, whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like there's as many monster movie comedies, which is almost what I would kind of describe this as. You think of a monster kind of going through the forest, taking people, all that sort of stuff. But it is also kind of a funny premise, and I feel like we don't see very many monster movie comedies. Would you kind of think that's how I kind of describe this movie, I guess? I don't know how you feel like it.
I can't think of any recent ones, but it's kind of like you say, we're all going to go to the theater. We all know what the deal is, okay? Mm-hmm. So you can't go to, Cocaine Bear and think, it's gonna, this is really happening.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody thinks that, then they're either high on coke or weed. But that's not what this is about. It's about pure enjoyment, but it's a lot of it has to do with the way it's played. Mm-hmm. And this is where myself and the other actors come in. You need to once you see, okay, this is what the deal is, then you need to approach it in a realistic manner. That is what makes the film take off, is that you're being totally serious about it in the movie and how you're dealing with it and everything like that. But at the end of the day, you've got a bear that's high on cocaine, and it's how you deal with that that is, I think that's where the humor comes in.
So I feel like you kind of answered this question earlier on in our interview and everything, but at what point did you hear about this story? Did you hear anything of it all before you got the script, or was it that you got the script? You kind of mentioned you thought it was like almost a metaphor, but at what point were you like, oh, this is loosely based off something that actually happened? At what point did you learn that?
I knew the story.
You had heard the story before this?
Yeah. Because the story. I mean, I was in New York. I got to New York in '83, and I remember in 1985.
Oh, so you heard it as an actual news story that was at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, you think it's kind of curious and everything like that. You don't think that 30 years later or so you're going to be the guy playing it out. But I knew the story, so when I got the script, I still didn't put two and two together. Again, I did seriously think that it was a metaphor, and I would be some guy in a cell who was sweating and having a hard time trying to beat his addiction. But you realize, no, this is about a bear and cocaine. And then when they said it was based on a true story, then it was like, oh yeah, I remember that story from back in the day.
Yep.
And then you start to do a bit of a mind shift as to, okay, what do we got here? But the more I read it, the more I thought it was hilarious and wanted to be a part of it. And, in the back of your mind, you're hoping that people kind of accept it. But I think people will accept it if nobody takes it too seriously,
That's kind of a crazy. You mentioned like this was a news story way back then. I almost want to go through the newspaper today and be like, which of these stories has the most likely to be a movie 30 years down the line now? I kind of want to look through today's headlines. We'll place bets, and then 30 years down the line, we'll like be, oh yeah, we got it. This story, crazy story here.
I think if you look at some of the papers today, you probably could, but it's got to be something that is, I mean, think about it. Back in 1985, and that would be a big news story, because, there was a lot of cocaine in 85, and it's like a bear ate 70 pounds of cocaine. I mean, what a waste. I mean, that's what's, and where did this happen? I'm sure it sent a lot of people out into the woods, looking for a kilo here and there, hoping to get lucky, like on a some hunt or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I just thought it was just going to be hilarious, and so I said, I remember saying, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But the whole movie was shot in Ireland. We shot the whole thing in Ireland.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
It takes place in Tennessee, but we shot it in Ireland.
Okay.
Very cool. I went to Ireland a couple of years ago. Absolutely beautiful place. I really enjoyed my time there. That's interesting.
Yeah, we were we were right outside of Dublin.
Okay. Yep.
In the forest there. I mean, once you get into the forest, it's
yeah.
But we had an incredible crew, one of the best crews I think I've ever worked with. The people were very nice, and the Guinness was flowing, and the Guinness was great.
Did you get a chance to go to the Guinness brewery, or the?
No, I didn't do that because, like I said, we were right outside of Dublin, and I think once you see what I do in the film, I could, I would spend my days off just kind of trying to recuperate,
Okay.
We were in the forest in Ireland, and it was a little chilly.
Yeah. Yep. Very good.
Hey, we talk a lot about movies on this channel, but sometimes the ones we talk about aren't the most accessible. That's where the Lyon County Library comes in handy. They have a great collection of physical media, as well as a couple of online services with many, many options for movies, TV shows, and documentaries. It's easy. Just get your own library card at the Lyon County Library, and gain access to their large variety of movies, TV shows, and of course, books. Also, be sure to check back every month as we here at Popcorn Bucket List make specific movie recommendations based on a monthly theme. This month, we're focusing on actors with a personal connection to Minnesota. So head on over to the Marshall-Lyon County Library for some of our favorites and check out the channel to get even more movie recommendations. And now, on with the show! Also coming out that same weekend, Jesus Revolution. This is also coming out to theaters, set in 1960s America. Man, with this movie and Cocaine Bear, this might be the most drug references we've ever had on the show before. This is the record
that might
here
be
this week. But basically, it's a movie about a sort of a pastor played by Kelsey Grammer. He must find it in himself to open his church doors to essentially the hippie community that was kind of around at that time and sort of close a divide that was very much prevalent in the country at the time. I'm not the first one to say this. There's probably a sort of a divide in our country nowadays. I don't know if it's necessarily the same one that they kind of experienced back then, but obviously a very timely movie, I think, all things considered. And Kelsey Grammer, I think, is a really good treat to have anytime. So
yeah, I haven't seen him in anything super lately, so it'll be nice to see him. And I think just the whole idea of a unity coming together, because in the beginning of the film he's very no hippies in this church, and then throughout the film they get more, or they open up the doors and it becomes a nice big filled church. So I think looks interesting, looks good.
Mm-hmm. And he that would be a good example. I mean, we all know Kelsey Grammer as from his show and everything like that. And you sometimes have to work a little extra to kind of get out of that and become this priest and be taken seriously as that. Because I don't know if is that a comedy or a drama.
It was kind of a drama. I think there's a few funny elements in the trailer, but it is supposed to be kind of more of a serious movie, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's you want to sort of break that. It can be a little hard, that was one of my big fears when I did The Wire, playing Clay Davis. Is would I be able to get away from that? In some ways I have, but a lot of people still hit me with Clay Davis. But that being said, if it makes people happy and they enjoy it, more power to them. There's worse things in life, I think.
Yep.
Also coming out this weekend, also to theaters, the movie called Mummies. This is an animated movie from Warner Brothers. I think this is a movie about mummies coming back to life after an archaeologist steals their ring. Not going to lie, the trailer didn't give a lot on this one. And also it kind of seemed like one of those, we made it, we're just going to put it out there. I'm kind of surprised it didn't go straight to HBO Max if I'm going to be real here. I'm going to be real. But.
Yeah, I haven't seen a kids animated show that kind of deals with, I would say, more of the Egyptian mythology, kind of. I know lately everything's been either like DC or Avengers or more superhero Ninja Turtles stuff. I haven't seen a lot of more like Norse or Greek or Egyptian mythology, so I think it'll be cool from that aspect, but some of the animation styles looks a little different.
Yeah, I guess the comedy of this movie is based in what if you took these ancient Egyptians and brought them into the real world. How do they react to cars and everything?
Yep.
And, that could be funny, I guess, but it didn't even look like the trailer was putting in a lot of effort, so I don't know how much they put in the effort in the movie is, I guess, what I'm saying. But
yep.
Also coming out this weekend to Hulu, talking about some streaming movies now, Bruiser. I think I'm saying that right. This movie, talking about a trailer, it kind of is a tale of two cities, if I'm using that phrase correctly. The first half, and I'm curious what your opinion was, Ryan, but it seemed like it was almost kind of more inspiring, kind of trying to be uplifting. This kid's getting kind of beat up and bullied sort of thing. And it's almost like trying to be like, just turn the other cheek. And then at a certain point halfway, it felt like this one guy kind of comes in and is like, no, fight back. And he teaches him how to fight back and all of a sudden becomes like Rocky almost.
Yeah. I guess I've watched the trailer, but I don't know. Like, the trailer also didn't show very much. So, like, they kind of talk about, he's like, you know, you can't be around here. We don't want you around here. So I'm wondering if this is his brother and if there's, like, some family dynamics at play here, or if it's like a big buddy situation. But it looks interesting. It looks really, interesting. I do want to see it.
Yeah, it does kind of bring up the debate, though, of, you know, what's better, turn the other cheek or fight back kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not so much a turn the other cheek kind of guy. I'm just kind of a turn around, walk away, and don't care or think about him kind of thing, which I don't know if that's any better or worse. I don't know.
I'm sort of like, you better move on to the next guy.
Yeah. You kind of give him one more chance, and then it's fight back kind of thing.
Yep.
It's like I want to say, think about it. You know, there's a lot of other people you could go after before you come after me.
But also finally coming out this weekend, straight to Netflix, talking about scary stuff with a mixture of comedy. That's kind of the theme for this weekend.
Yeah.
We Have a Ghost, again, coming out on Netflix. Admittedly, this didn't seem as funny as I thought it could be, just based on the trailer. Again, we're just basing our opinions solely on the trailer here.
Yep.
But I will say one thing that I think is going for this movie is it's the same writer and director who made Happy Death Day and Freaky. And I really like those movies. And they're kind of the same vein. It's either like a serial killer or some sort of supernatural scary thing, but sort of a comedic element here. So for those of you out there who want to laugh but also be scared, we got not one but two movies for you here this weekend.
Yep.
Got a real interesting theme. How many times, I'm curious, how did sometimes these things get lined up? Where, like, because obviously this movie Cocaine Bear and this movie Ghost are very separate, but you could argue are in the same vein of something that's scary but funny. How does that line up? How do you think? Like, where like something like two separate but similar movies, same weekend?
Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be some kind of call around and say, hey, look, what do you got here? What's going on here? You don't want to be opening on the same weekend. Those two movies, I can see where they're far apart.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have Cocaine Bear and Cocaine Camel working on the same week.
That's what that one camel who bit that guy's head. That's what he was on during that time.
You would want to say, okay, look, we're going to maybe either push to another time or go before that. But yeah, I mean, February is not December. Where everything comes out in December.
That's fair. That's fair.
That could be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, if you're trying to get a movie nominated or something like that, you don't want to open in January or February because people are going to by the time award time comes, may have forgotten about it, and you would have to reissue the movie later.
Yep.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Let's take a quick moment here and talk about the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. As we move into February, more and more blockbusters will be showing up on the marquee, so make sure you check out their website for showtimes, and make sure you get there early so that way you get some good concessions. Also, be on the lookout for more Phantom events to show up here at the Marshall 6 Theater. Very exclusive, very different every time. So be sure to check out their website for showtimes and more.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
But that is everything coming out this weekend. Let's wrap things up on this show with some number one recommends. I'm curious, Isiah, is there anything you've watched recently, movies, TV, if there's a book you've read, and any form of entertainment here that you would recommend everyone go check out?
I'm a member of the Academy, so I have to watch pretty much all of the movies.
Ooh, yeah.
I'm running a little behind, but I did watch recently All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, yep.
It's a difficult movie to watch, but if you can get through it,
Mm-hmm.
and I only say that not in a bad way, but it is so real and so heartfelt that if you can get through it, I think you'll be rewarded towards the end there.
Yeah.
And I watched the Irish movie.
The Northman?
The Banshees of Inisherin?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I watched that one. And I enjoyed that one. If you can check that one out, would be good. The Fablemans, I enjoyed. And then there's a few other I got to catch up with.
Yeah. So could I ask then, now, when you choose or have to watch these films, do you have like a home theater that you like to watch them in, or do you have to catch them at the theater or rent them, or is there like a special?
Yeah, there's an Academy screening room.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
What they'll do is they'll send you you log in, and there's a link to go to all of the movies that have been nominated, all of the people who have been nominated, and you watch. And then I think maybe in about a week or two now, we vote, and then you put your vote in.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I've never, I was always under the interpretation you had to watch them, but
I always thought they mailed them to you.
You always thought they
Like,
mailed? Yeah.
I just always assumed it was like just mailing you boxes and boxes of like DVDs or something like that. I don't know why I pictured it like that.
Yeah.
No, they still do. They still do.
Oh, okay. So I wasn't too far off.
Yeah, if I was to spin the computer around, you would see them stacked up on my desk.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
They still do. You can opt in to have them send them to you on a DVD.
Okay.
But it's but nowadays it's just easier to just go to the link.
Yeah.
And bring it up on your computer. And if you have a nice sized screen of a computer, which I do, I can just watch it on there. And it's almost like watching it on a big television or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you can go to if you want to go to a movie theater and watch, you can do that. And they do have screening rooms around the city, New York and LA, and maybe some of the other big cities, where if you want to watch that movie in a theater, you can.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, All Quiet, that's a good recommendation. I know we've talked about that on this show. You're totally right. It really puts you in the middle of it. It really does.
I was going to say my other pick would be Your Honor.
Oh, yeah, of course.
We're in the second season of Your Honor.
Yep.
And I think we're up to episode 6.
Okay.
So if you haven't watched Your Honor, it's a fantastic show with Bryan Cranston, Michael Stuhlbarg, Hope Davis, to name a few. But it's a fantastic show, and if you get a chance to check it out, it's on Showtime. Please do.
Yeah, can't go wrong with Bryan Cranston. That guy's like batting 1,000. I feel like with all of his projects, isn't he?
He's top notch.
Yeah,
he's the real deal. That's what they call it.
Ryan, what are you recommending this week?
Well, mine's a little different.
I know we're following up an Oscar one with what you're going to talk about here.
So
setting the bar pretty high on us.
Yeah. The past 2 weeks, the new season of South Park has came out. So if you are a fan of South Park, I highly recommend watching it. If you like that style of animation, you like what Trey Parker and Matt Stone do, then I would suggest it's a new season. Things are just getting rolling. That would be my pick for the week.
So my number one recommend, I'm just going to talk a little quickly here, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, the latest in the MCU. Some of the big talk around this one is how it had one of the lower Rotten Tomatoes scores, as low as Eternals. But I'm also one of the few people who actually liked Eternals, apparently. So I guess that's par for the course for me. I don't know. It is weird, but the thing I kept reminding myself is, what else do you expect from a superhero who shrinks down and talks to ants? Like, this was the inevitable for this franchise here, I feel like. So it's a little weird, but Paul Rudd's pretty good. And the main thing is Kang the Conqueror, played by Jonathan Majors. Talk about a guy who's batting 1,000. We've talked about him on this show before.
In my opinion, he stole that show. He was so good.
He's still early in his career, I feel like, but I think he's been making all the right choices personally. So, are you a Marvel or a DC guy at all, or do you pick a side in that war at all, or
No.
Okay. I was hoping I could trick him into saying he was a DC comic. I'm gonna edit this footage and play the audio of you being a DC Comics fan, because I'm a big DC Comics fan and no one agrees with me. So
Whoever lights up my bat phone is who I go with.
there we go. Yeah, there we go. I'll take it. I will take it. But that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. One more special thank you to our guest, Isiah Whitlock Jr. Thank you so much for graciously providing your time here talking movies with us. Show your support by going and checking out Cocaine Bear and Your Honor and all that other stuff. And if you want to check out any other movies, new and or old, take a look at our display at the Marshall-Lyon County Library, as well as the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. And as always, if you have any of your own movie recommendations, be sure to let us know, whether in person, comment on the video, send a carrier pigeon, however you want to do that. For myself, Ryan Meyerberg, and Isiah Whitlock Jr., we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.